Welcome to the PEI Business Podcast. I'm Jennifer Evans from Stingray. And on this week's episode, we're meeting a PEI manufacturer based in rural PEI who's actually selling their products worldwide. It's another PEI success story, this time from Belfast Mini Mills. It's the PEI Business Podcast brought to you by Innovation PEI, where we're celebrating island business. And don't forget, mark your calendars for Tuesday, April 7th. It's the second annual PEI Business Summit. You don't want to miss it. Well, welcome to the PEI Business Podcast, brought to you by Innovation PEI, and we're really excited to welcome this week's guest into our studio. We have a manufacturer from rural PEI, Belfast Mini Mills, and with us today is Andrew Carpenter and Matthew Noble. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast studio. How's it feel?
It's great. I feel very important.
Excellent.
Very professional.
Excellent.
Yes.
It feels Star Trek-y, actually.
Does it?
Yeah, with the whole, and there's like the bridge of the ship.
All right. Well, we're going to bridge right into the story of Belfast Mini Mills because many of us, as islanders, we probably think you sell yarn, which at one point you did.
Yes.
But today you're actually manufacturers that sell your products worldwide. Who wants to tell me the background of how you progressed from
background? Well, I'll tell a little bit anyways, and then Andrew can chime in.
Perfect, yeah.
But yeah, we're really riding on the coattails of a lot of older family members and key employees that are like, you know, have actually developed machines and ran this very special company for almost 3 decades. So, you know, there's an absolute wealth of knowledge. The company started with my grandfather, Lawrence, and my grandmother, Sheila. He's unfortunately passed away, but she's still kicking, and she still has like those big wooden looms, and she still does weaving. And there's always been that very craft, hands-on component to this whole industry. Even though we have now very, advanced, we're advancing our technology in our machines, and they're becoming more powerful as well. But yeah, the company really started with my grandparents. They had a company in British Columbia called Mountain Loom. They sold that, moved out, and my uncle Clive, my father Douglas, and my grandfather Lawrence basically miniaturized these large industrial machines and found a niche market, right? So we're not competing with the big guys, and we're not grandma spinning on her spinning wheel, but we're in that middle ground, and that's where we found our niche.
So you started off in the yarn business, and then out of necessity, needing the machines to keep going.
Yeah, well, there was a time where we had so we sell business to business. So if you have any fiber animals, if you are in New Zealand and you have a unique breed of sheep and you want to process your sheep, you can buy our machines. Depending on different configurations, we have a pretty extensive catalog. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, if you have some wool or alpaca, these machines can turn into a yarn. You can have very exotic animals, like musk oxen. You can have kiviot. There's angora. There's goat. There's a wealth of fiber. But yeah, just to finish off the history, we had at one point we had the store there in Belfast, and my mother Linda and my aunt Hazel ran that for 25 years. But there was a lot happening. We actually sold one of our mills just down the road, and there's a new business here on the island. They're Fleece and Harmony. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They're new-ish, but if you consider them in the long term, they bought a set of our machines. They process local. They have their own podcast, and they have their own thing going. Kim and Ken run the company, and they have several employees now, and so there was kind of multiple reasons we didn't want to be competing with someone local that just bought a mill. Yeah. So, that was a good reason also for my mother to retire.
So in 2002, your family moved from BC to PEI. I think it's a great story because it wasn't just the family that moved, but also 100 goats.
Yes, we came out. Yeah, me, my little brother, Evan, one of the other partners. I should mention the partners too, because my cousin Tyler, my brother Evan, and myself. Okay. I keep hitting the mic. We reached it recently. We have went through the whole succession plan and we're the new owners of the company as of 4 years ago. But initially, my little brother, me, my parents came across country with, I think it was like 70 goats.
How does that work?
My Uncle Clive in one trailer.
How does that?
So to multiple vehicles, multiple trailers, and you take your time, and I think it was like, it felt like forever. It was like a month.
Well,
I think it took 4 weeks.
Because you'd have to stop so many times.
We have to stalk and graze the animals, right? You have to let all these goats out and graze them. And this was just, it was totally normal.
The new age homesteaders. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
And what was the draw to PEI? Did you have family here?
The draw to, my family's very adventurous. My grandparents came over to Ottawa decades ago with 2 little twins. They came over from England on a boat. This was the new world to them. And then, so I still have lots of family out west, but the family as a whole, we remained in BC for a long time. And then it was my Uncle Clive came out on, I think, just like a vacation, and he loved the island and brought word back to the Shire, and then all the hobbits gathered up, and I think, my parents and me, like just the 4 of us, we came out after. Then my grandparents, then cousins, and
adventuresome spirit.
Adventuresome spirit, yeah. Well, and I mean, my one cousin owns Eternal Dragon here in Charlottetown. Evelyn and Mike, shout out to them. But then also MEL and Mandy, they own the hot sauce company.
So very entrepreneurial families.
Yeah.
We really lucked out when you folks decided to move from BC to PEI. So Andrew, you joined the company 16 years ago.
Yeah, around there, yes.
And you have seen the growth from this company and the fact that from Belfast PEI, you are selling your product worldwide. Like, how did that word get out? How did you find customers?
Well, originally it would have been word of mouth. Like the way we advertised 16 years ago or even longer was just word of mouth, pamphlets, the old way. Generally speaking, it was interviews. People would buy equipment, and then the local news reporters would come in, or a paper, and they would do interviews with the new mill owners, and then word would get out. But now it's most of it's all social media. Matthew's wife does most of the social media advertising. But around 2010, I believe, is when it kind of really took off. The alpaca market kind of fell out. Originally, everybody made money from their alpacas by showing them and breed genetics, and then the industry collapsed. So these people that had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of animals needed to find something to make money off other than just showing them. So then people just started researching, and we were at that moment when it was the only company that went to finished yarn in the cottage industry. So every time they researched, they would always find Belfast Mini Mills. So that's kind of how it started. And then, we are in over 35 countries now.
That's incredible.
Worldwide.
Amazing.
And installation-wise, I would have to say we're well over the 450 mark.
So the interesting thing is that not only do folks manufacture the machine right here in PEI, but then you actually go and help with the install. So that is part of the process.
And training.
Training. So how long does each project take?
So
from manufacturing, the moment you get the order to you're in the plant and install.
I think
and
right now our lead time would be 6 to 8 months if you were getting a full configuration. And then depending the location, but let's say just Western Europe, it takes about 2.5 weeks to cross the Atlantic. And then I arrive. We used to try to arrive and help the offloading of the equipment. But we found more and more we were getting delayed due to customs or weather or whatever. And then I would be sitting there waiting for the equipment to arrive. And sometimes it was a week. And then when customs holds it, it can be up to another week. So we decided that I would just arrive once the equipment was there, providing as much support for offloading as we could virtually and through email and whatnot. Then I arrive and it's 9 days. It's 2 days to set the machines up. They're 95% assembled. when they go into the container, and then I spend 7 full days on site training. And then you have the option of requesting me to come back for a follow-up training if you want it. We used to offer 2 trainings in the sale agreement, but some people were wanting it right away, like within a few months, and some people were carrying it over into the following year, and travel costs, increase so we were charging a certain price for the initial second training, and then people would wait a year or maybe even longer to get it, and then we would actually be losing on it because of the cost of air travel and whatnot.
So do you have a maximum number of orders that you can handle per year?
We can probably comfortably handle maybe 10 mil orders. Okay. That would be a big year if we got in 10. Yeah.
And your competition is very limited.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Like you said one?
Well, our main competitor is in Italy.
Yeah.
And then we have another kind of up-and-coming competitor in the U.S., but...
Yeah, it's a pretty captive market.
But if you look through the history of the cottage industry, textile machinery, Belfast kind of paved the way, because if you look at all the other companies that have come and gone, there is somewhere another link to Belfast. The only company that would not have a link to it is a company that started in British Columbia as well. I think it was only like an hour and a half from where, I think that's what your father said, but it was Patrick Green Company, and all that they made was just one machine, and they made it very well, but he's since passed and that company is no longer. That would be the only company in the industry that didn't have a link some way or another to Belfast. So
you've been the trailblazers in
pretty
this
much.
industry.
I would
there's a lot of considerations too. Like we fit really well with facility size. So if you have a small building, a 2-bay garage, even you could theoretically have a business in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So give us a sense of what the value of these machinery.
Yeah, so if you wanted to be a hand dyer and you wanted to buy a die that, which I think is our cheapest machine, or our least expensive, I should say, I think it's around $6,000. And then we just brought out a new, much larger version of our carding machine.
Yes.
It's a machine that aligns fibers, and that Titan carder, I believe, is $60,000.
Yeah,
that's USD.
Yeah, most of our prices are in U.S. currency because doing exporting around the world. It's a more stable currency, and generally you see businesses like ours or even larger using USD as your main currency for trade and sale. But we do have a Canadian-based price, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is slightly cheaper. But we also offer recently a financing option too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we are working.
Farm life.
Yeah, we're working with an agriculture bank that will help finance people if they want to finance within Canada.
So who's behind the innovation of creating the actual products? Because if it is constantly
always a team effort. It's really hard to even answer that because like Andrew is the kind of flagship person on the road all the time, and he's
the face out there.
And dealing with lots of the customers and hearing from them, right? So customer feedback really influences a lot of the innovation because you want to answer those problems. But then when it comes into the shop, we have some incredible engineers. We have 3 people from Mexico who are all engineers, and they work in the assembly shop. We have someone from Germany. We have people from all over, and even in terms of fabrication, where the motors go, and it really is a team effort. It's hard to, it's we have I guess Tyler, Evan, and me are looking at a lot of the potential things we could do, and we're just kind of taking the lowest hanging fruit of the innovations that we can, the changes we can make.
And all the employees based here in Belfast?
No, not in Belfast, but in PEI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of drive-in from Charlottetown.
Where's the manufacturing actually done?
So in Murray River.
Okay.
That's where the fabrication job is, and also for the time being, we have separation of our process because we do the fabrication, and that's my cousin Tyler's shop. So he controls that portion of the process, and then we actually have to, truck them over to the other site. So we have a little bit of motion cost there,
How many employees do you have based here?
Around 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot. Has shipping been a challenge in recent years? The cost of shipping, has that been an obstacle, or you've been able to navigate it?
Like our European clients, I speak Europe because that's our second biggest location with our equipment. But as far as I'm aware, no. The shipping costs obviously have gone up compared to 10 years ago, but not drastically as much as you would think. And even with our neighbors to the south, we aren't getting any issues with shipping there either. Actually, today we just were informed, or I was informed by the client that their stuff has arrived. We're getting a little bit of issue with the tariffs not being charged, but because it's always changing. Like for example, they held some stuff for 4 or 5 days because of the recent changes in the tariffs between Canada and the U.S. So they wanted to wait to bring it into the U.S. in case they did drop. So, but not as far as we're aware, there's no extra costs added to anything.
Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on? Is there one that kind of sticks out?
I think it's the one we're doing now.
The
Titan.
Oh, the Titan line?
For me anyways.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That one is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well actually that, you know what, that is, I might jump on that and do the same. That's my favorite as well.
Yeah.
For one main reason, we just changed how we tension these large drums. So we have the new Titan drum. It's probably 2 feet in diameter, and I forget how wide is it?
40 inches.
40 inches wide. But to tension, we put the card cloth on, right? So this whole drum, if you can imagine this giant drum cylinder, it's totally covered on the surface with this thin material that has the little pins on, little teeth on it. It's called card cloth. But the way you wrap it on is you have to tension it on with perfect tension onto this large drum. We call it the Swift. So it's the main drum. And we had to actually design a machine to tension that at the other shop. And we had to fly in 2 specialists from Austria. They're the only guys in the world that do this heritage style because they work on the heritage carding machines, right? They're made of wood and they use wooden plugs. So they had to adjust to our new aluminum drum. But we have it clocked in now. And now the new drums they're perfect. And they look beautiful. And we have the new machine sitting in the assembly room.
Any orders for that new one?
This is the prototype.
It is.
Well, you know, we're actually we're dusting.
Hasn't really launched yet.
Well, it did exist like a decade ago, and we're taking the product back and we're dusting it off, and we're putting all the new modern stuff on it.
Yeah, his father and uncle released it and then stopped selling it because it was not the market that they wanted to be in. It's more of a bigger machine. Okay. And back then that was true, but now the industry is demanding higher production, and we can't ignore that. So we decided to re-release, I guess you would say, but there was never fully proper testing because it was a very unique order that went to Australia. So yeah, it's good to see because now we can. Our biggest problem was that we stayed in the same market with the same production rate for many, many, many years, and now that we're seeing our Italian competitor having machines that can produce more, and the industry is wanting more. If we don't release that equipment, then they're gonna go where they can get it, and as long as we have something to offer, I think we'll keep the sales.
And also, just in terms of size, our biggest machine, this one we're talking about, it's only as big as like about a car. You know, it's about a car-sized machine.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
So you could.
What's the weight?
Oh, the weight.
It'd probably be around. I would say the medium-sized one's 1,100 pounds. Wow. This one would be like 1,500 pounds. Yeah.
How many days are you on the road?
Last year was actually a slow year. I was gone for only 187 days.
Wow.
But the year prior, 2024, I was gone for 218 to 220. There was 2 of us at one point, myself and Jeff, and he retired the beginning of this year after 29 years. So I'm the only person left to take care of the world right now.
That's a big, that's a heavy burden.
Oh, well, maybe it could be a job opening.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to travel 8 months of the year.
Your passport would have a lot of stamps on it.
Yeah, they actually told me to stop getting a 10-year because I was wasting the extra money because it would only last 4. So, but yeah, it's a lot easier to navigate through Europe. You're allowed to work there as a Canadian visa-free for 3 months, regardless of what industry you're working in. Our biggest issue is in the United States because of work visas. Right. Because they don't classify as a specialty need for servicing, so that makes it difficult. So that's why we have to be very strict with who we are looking for, who Matthew and Evan are looking for an employee to come into the position that I'm in, because the U.S. makes it quite difficult to do business. Like, we're not turbine technicians, we're not chemists, right? They classify us as a mechanic, which is, they say mechanics are everywhere in the U.S., so they won't give us a visa.
So let's talk about, the next generation has bought this business and ready to invest and take it forward for your career. What's the big vision? Where do you see it going? Innovation, a big part of
ultimately I think there will be a really big a large shift in the market back towards crafts and actually doing things with your hands, knittings, any type of needle felting, any crochet. There's so many things that really connect you and with your surroundings. You could be knitting a hat with a sheep that's just down the road, and that traceability. You know that the hat you're wearing was from Chester the sheep, and the farmer. I think that level of knowledge and traceability from where our fibers are coming from like a Canadian perspective, I think I would like to see. My hope is that we start utilizing all of these rich resources we have here. We could be wearing a lot more wool. We could be, and I feel like it's part of our culture that we haven't embraced yet. And that's my hope.
So it's kind of the story of the company too.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at the popularity today of the makers market and all that, there is a real shift for people wanting to know who's producing their products.
Yeah.
And
you could even just be dyeing the skein of yarn, and have and just be doing it in your kitchen, but you could be using natural dyes from around and things like that, things that really connect us to nature.
So final question, because it's a good part of the story. Are there still goats at Belfast Mini Mills?
Okay, no, but Mom is getting some more.
Okay.
What?
Yes, she is.
This is new.
This is for Andrew.
Well, that's what I started out at when I first got hired there, was cleaning the barns, cutting the grass.
Well, remember the donkey?
Yes.
Andrew, we won't get into the donkey story, but we loaded up a donkey into a van.
2 of them.
Yeah.
And drove them from Ontario.
So goats are coming back.
Yeah, goats are coming back.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a wild story.
Yeah.
This is happening in rural PEI that you folks are selling worldwide.
Yes.
Minimal competition around the globe, and it's all happening here. So we're really happy that you shared your story with us.
We have thousands more.
Brilliant.
Thank you for
We'll have
having
you
us.
back.
Yeah.
As we do the next series, we'll have you back and see what happens next with Belfast Mini Mills. Thank you both.
Thank you very much.